Saquon.
No, Deion Sanders' son that we're talking about.
Oh, Shakoor.
Shakoor. Yeah,
Yes.
they forget that Shakoor comes from Deion, and that he's been breastfed or father-fed on what it is to stand for yourself, to know that whatever you've achieved, you earned it. That you're not bragging, you're not confident. There's not a false confidence. You remember every ache, every pain, every hit, every morning you got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to run track before you went to school. So, I mean, and if you present it in a bragging kind of way, that's just you, that's your personality. And people are sometimes turned off from that, depending on who it is and depending on who they think deserves to be braggart. But then when you think about, what is the gentleman's name? He's now a sportscaster, but they chose him late as a draft, and he went on to become the greatest. Tom
Brady.
Tom Brady. Okay, so that's possible too. You may be able to pick me in the 5th round, but I'm still that man.
Yes.
I mean, put me in the 5th, 1st, the 10th. I'm still gonna show up with all my skills. I'm gonna carry that baby down and go.
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready? Nope. For a long journey where our podcast released a new app and searching for a fade fiend, new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, have some friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talk your wisdom.
Welcome in, everyone. Today's guest is a powerhouse of creativity and purpose. Satori Shakoor, visionary, storyteller, multi-disciplinary artist, and social entrepreneur. From touring with George Clinton in Parliament, Funkadelic, yeah, y'all heard that right. We're going to get into that. To founding the internationally acclaimed Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, she's used her voice to entertain, empower, and transform communities. Get ready for a real, unfiltered conversation with a woman who lives at the intersection of art, impact, and truth. And this is season 2, episode 129. We'll call this episode Twisted Truths and Funky Tales. Satori Shakoor spins the real story. Satori, how are you today?
I'm great on the wake of that beautiful introduction. It's a pleasure to be here and to meet you, Donato, and your audience.
Yes. Oh, we're excited. I kind of want to get in. Let's start with the storytelling and creative journey. Let's start there with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, no, if there's somewhere you want to start first, okay, all right.
You're the leader.
Okay.
and if this was a dance, I'd be a bad follower. So go ahead.
I teach Latin dance, and it's funny you say that. We break it down into leaders and followers, and there are some people that don't want to be followers. And it looks like you're arm wrestling on the dance floor because you're trying to move them and they don't want to move. And so I am familiar, and I've gotten compliments that I'm a good lead. So let me go ahead and let me get you moving.
Okay. I accept this dance, sir.
Thank you. That's how it works, ladies and gentlemen. Satori, what first drew you to storytelling as a transformative art form? And how has that evolved since your early days as a performer?
Well, I've always been a storyteller because I come from old Black women and men from the Alabama, Mississippi, Jim Crow South. They weren't formally educated, but they were masters and PhDs in storytelling. They could take something as simple as walking to the mailbox and make it sound like Lord of the Rings. Just pour these stories in my ear and they were so rich and with visuals and images. They would imitate the characters of who they were talking about. They would show me the kind of gestures. And so my mind would interact, very interactive, would make a movie. And so I'd be making the movie of what they were feeding me. I got to know my father, who was much older than my mother. I got to know him as a younger man who could dance at the Greystone Ballroom. I would never have known that man had she not shared stories of him. So so storytelling was as natural to me as breathing. As a child, you don't grow up and say, when I grow up, I want to be a breather. So it was something that I discovered was something that I could do effectively, and it could make a difference. And actually the world could teach me that it was an actual service. So when I found out that it was actually in Austin, Texas. I was on stage in the middle of telling a story with an organization called the Moth. I don't know whether you've heard of the Moth.
I haven't.
It's an organization out of New York that's dedicated to the art and craft of storytelling, and they have slams all around the country. And I participated in a slam. I won. I went to the Grand Slam. Whoa. and then I won. And so I started to tour and host the Moth. I was in Austin, Texas, on stage telling the story of the loss of my mother, and then 9 months later, my son, which had happened 6 years prior. So I was just coming back, feeling a lot, wanting to live again after being in the numb of grief and hell. And I could hear a pin drop. I noticed that the audience was leaning forward. They were waiting for the next word that I would speak. And it just dawned on me, you're a storyteller, like really a storyteller. And then I started getting emails from all over the country and the world really saying, thank you for telling your story. I can relate. My mother, my son, my whatever passed away. And this really helped me. And I noticed it was healing me to tell my story every time, because the audience would come up to me afterwards. They would share their stories, which made my grief leave the confines of my body and share out to the audience, who would take a piece of my grief and heal from. It was just this beautiful thing. So Detroit was also in 2012 just coming back from battering, emergency management, Flint water crisis, water shutoffs, gentrification, all people leaving out of the city, decreased tax base, and I could see signs of life. Okay. And so I thought to myself, well, if storytelling could begin to heal me, could it do the same for the city of Detroit? And it was a delicious idea to me as an artist. So I was suffering from the crash of Wall Street. Too big to fail had failed me as an artist. And I had my stuff in storage, living in the basement of a friend's house, come up to her garden one morning, and it hit me. Oh, I could, what if there was a place where people could listen and tell stories that would make a difference, stories that would begin to heal them? What if I could create a place where people could hear each other's stories, find themselves in Whole Foods or at the gas station or some other public place, and they could say, well, how was your mother? I heard a story at the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. And their stories would be fodder for conversations and relatedness and connection of humanity. So I had no money, so I was discouraged. But then the idea was delicious to me. I couldn't resist it. So I sold tickets in advance, rented this little space, 45 seats sold out. And each month following, we had to get a bigger and bigger and bigger venue. And we've had George Clinton on our stage, Dick Gregory, Dr. John, state senators. You could be on all manner of people could be on our stage. And it's 13 years later. We have a show coming up Friday, and it's not slowing down, because there's always a need, especially when the COVID happens, or
Yeah.
something that affects all of us, or we can tell stories and help somebody else know that, oh, I'm not alone. Oh, I can be part of that community.
Yes.
Oh, whatever they discover out of this storytelling. So that is my mission and my purpose and my calling.
Yeah.
So that's how it started.
You've worn,
and I've observed the transformation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they tell me all the time, or they testify.
Mhm.
Oh, I feel so great. I'm so glad I told my story about my dad. He's passed now, and I can share my story digitally because we videotape everything.
Okay.
So
You've worn many hats: singer, actor, comedian, producer. How do these different creative identities influence the stories you choose to tell today?
well, as a singer, you tell stories with melody. You tell stories in harmony with other people. As an actor, you tell your story, which contributes to the larger story that's being told. And you have a cast along with you supporting your narrative. As a director, you get a story, and you help the storyteller and the audience see the greatness of that story, or of that person telling the story. As a producer, you make possible where people can see that story, or if people see that story. And so it's different ways to bring the story to life, to birth the story. I call myself a midwife of stories.
I like how you broke that down there. You went from the singer to the actor, the producer,
the comedian.
I was about to.
So as a comedian, I discover my journey in developing myself as a comedian, that the requirement for a comedian at that, when I, in the early 90s, you had to make a person laugh every 7 seconds. That was going to be your set on TV. And I was a storyteller. So I developed my bits to satisfy that requirement. But I also would do my bits, prove I could make you laugh. And then I would tell the audience, now I'm going to tell you a story. And I noticed they would sit back like little kids. And I tell them, I promise you're going to laugh, but when, I can't say.
Yeah.
And I tell them the story to earn, because I didn't want set up punch. I didn't want to have to be tethered to that.
Yeah.
So stand up is short form storytelling, but the requirement is that you laugh. Now comedy, I noticed, is it's different. It's all kinds of approaches to comedy, and you may not laugh at all. You might just go, damn, Dave Chappelle just said something profound.
Yeah.
And that's comedy,
Yeah. No, it is. That's a great way to think about it. I agree. You can you might not be laughing, but you might say, yeah, that's right. Oh man, I never really noticed that. But that's the pleasure. The pleasure is maybe finding agreement. The pleasure might be in being seen. I feel seen. Satori's getting me. Everything she's saying right now. So yeah, I see that. Satori, you already, I'm not even 3 questions in. I'm digging this. You are already like having me even see things differently. This is cool. This is gonna be great. What does it mean to you to connect humanity through storytelling? And when did you first realize the power stories have to heal and transform communities?
Well, storytelling is the possibility of the connection to humanity, because I have not, although when I went to Jamaica and met this wonderful Jamaican woman. She has about 5 dogs, and she says that they talk. I never heard them talk, but she says they do. But I've never heard anything but a human being tell stories. And I have never seen anyone appreciate stories more than another human being. And because we are all designed the same way, whether we look the same or have the same cultural background or we live in different parts of the world, every culture has storytelling at its core, because this is the way that we pass down information and ideas. And in fact, storytelling is the most effective delivery system of information and ideas. So just inside the fact that it is the most powerful tool of communication there is, we want to use that to communicate to each other our ideas. Now, because we're human, I know what it is that if I cut myself, what it is to bleed. I know what it is to feel pain, joy, happiness, be worried, be thankful, all of the things that human beings feel and the way human beings think. So that there's a connection there. If you drive, and I'm talking about driving, and I hit a snowbank or I hit a black ice and my car spins around and I see ongoing traffic, I'm going to be, and so are you, because you understand the danger that's coming toward you if you don't do something. So there's that connection just in our own humanity and the way we're designed. We are story machines. We love stories as human beings. There is an art to storytelling at its highest level. It is a craft like any other craft. There's a practice to it. And there is a way to convey the story. There is a way to create and build your story. But storytelling is also a science. And when you tell a story and you tell it in a way that's compelling and you know what you're doing, it engages the brain. And what the brain does is distribute these hormones, dopamine, oxytocin, and these are hormones that create a sense of empathy in the listener. So when you're telling a story about what happened to you, the listener can empathize. They can feel. It also makes the listener want to, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? So it's almost hormones that keep you engaged, keep you glued till the storyteller gets to the end, which is the message. I told you all of this to tell you, this is what I learned. This is my message. This is what I want you to know out of my lived experience. Stories are a little gift. They're a little gift package of experience. And here I'm giving it to you. And if there's anything in that gift you can take and use for your life, there you go.
Yeah. The secret society of twisted storytellers.
Yes, sir.
That has become, it's grown. It's become an internationally recognized platform. What inspired its creation and what impact has surprised you the most?
Well, the title, The Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, comes from a short story I wrote some years ago. And I wrote that story so that I could tell another story that I felt was blasphemous. So I couldn't just tell the blasphemous story at that time, I thought. So I created a world so that the character in the story could tell the story. And so it was called the Secret Society. I built a whole history that this society dated back to the time of Galileo, where he was in prison for saying what the facts were. And so so this society was there to preserve stories, to preserve thought, to just hold stories until the world was ready to hear, to listen to it, to accept it. And so so what was the next question?
Oh, I was just saying, what impact has surprised you the most?
Oh, what impact is that people are still wanting to tell their story. They're excited. They've emailed me, can I tell my story? Or that I got an invitation from a peacekeeper from the United Nations to go to Utrecht, Netherlands, to install a version of the secret society there, so that Syrian refugees, Somalian refugees could tell their story and begin to heal from why they were from fleeing their land to some place they could feel safe. I've seen storytellers, Marines that served in Vietnam, come to our stage. I also facilitate workshops and coach all of my storytellers that take the stage with the craft, because everybody has a story, everybody doesn't know how to tell it. So I coach them, and I had Marines who would come on to tell their story and cry real tears as they were working with me with their story. Go on to become a spokesperson for PTSD. Others who have come on stage and been contacted to do commercials for banks or other things. People who have met their mentors at our live performances. Because if you don't tell your story, you're someone who looks good, looks interesting, smells good, but we don't know you. We just have questions. So once you tell your story, then there's, I know somebody that can, or I can mentor them, or we had a woman on stage, she'd been living with lupus for 20 years. And a woman happened to come who had just been diagnosed that week with lupus. So she could actually pull her aside and say, well, what's going to happen to me in year 10? What can I expect? And so she has someone to say, I've been here 20 years with lupus. Yeah, you can get through this. Or a man who was in prison for 36 years for a crime he didn't commit, and finally was released and has no malice in his heart, no bitterness, speaks all over the country about it. We've had Shaka Sangor righting our wrongs. He went on to become someone that Oprah said was her best interview. And he wants to come back and tell a story this year. He has another book. And so I can tell you many, many stories about the storytellers who have taken our stage, how their lives have completely changed out telling their story, because you get up there, you tell a piece of your life, and people give you a standing ovation. And you're like, I can't tell a story, I'm too nervous. And then you get a standing ovation out of your courage, because a lot of people don't really know how extraordinary they are. I have to tell people when they come to take the stage and I'm coaching them, did you just hear the story you told me? Don't you see how extraordinary you are? Oh, I didn't think of it like that. I just thought. So I don't think that we have access to our greatness. We're taught to be modest and quiet. And and modesty is fine. But if you don't acknowledge your gifts, you don't acknowledge certain things about your growth, then how can you be in a position to be grateful? And to be able to be grateful is one of the most humbling, submissive. I'm not a religious person, but I don't have to be religious to know that gratitude is it's a feeling. It's a space of submission that I think as human beings that it's important to posture.
Yeah, it is. It is. You just gave me a whole thought process of like a whole different way. I need to write this down for another podcast. Just about humbleness, humility. It's just, I wrote it down. I mean, that's a whole nother day. So thank you for that. How do you choose the stories or storytellers featured in your shows? And what makes a story powerful in your eyes?
I select a curatorial theme. So for example, Friday's theme is Monumental Mama. So the stories would be around that. Either it's something around how you're a monumental mother, or honoring a monumental mother, or I wasn't a monument. The stories are shaped around that.
Yes.
And so sometimes I go after a storyteller who I know has that kind of a story, or people will email me and say, I would like to tell a story. And I look to see, because they submit a synopsis and I look to see, but I don't audition storytellers, because I know that if they already have the story, they've already have the lived experience, I can midwife the story out of them. What makes a story compelling, you say?
Yeah. What makes a story powerful in your eyes?
That the storyteller is vulnerable, that they're honest, and if they're vulnerable and honest, then they're believable. And if they're vulnerable, honest, and believable, that makes their story powerful, because because we've all had experiences. If we've lived we've all had experience. Even if we can talk, if we can shape language, then we have a story. Yeah. And so I think that being alive and not understanding how this, we look at the world and we go, how is that bird? How is that sun? How is that sky? How am I? So to be able to share a bit about who we are in our lives, to celebrate life and our lives, which are like a blip, like they say, that little hyphen in between your birth and death, that hyphen is your story. And so between the time you're born and the time you're not here anymore, that's power, that you made it and you sustained your life to a point where you've had certain experiences, good or bad, painful or joyful, that you came here and absorbed what it is to be vulnerable in these bodies. Mm-hmm. So what makes a story powerful is the human being that's telling it.
Yeah, I see that. What's a moment from the Secret Society that still gives you chills or changed your perspective forever?
Well, I have the benefit of working with 4 new storytellers every month. So I'm blown away before the audience. But there was a story recently told on our stage, and this is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day to your mom and your wife and anybody else that you celebrate as a mother. A story of a woman who came home from work. Yeah. Her husband was there, and I guess they didn't have a good relationship. Okay. She went to sleep. He woke her up, and the next few hours he proceeded to murder their 4 children.
Golly.
And she emailed me. She wanted to tell her story. She told her story last month, called Warrior Women. So it gave me chills that she was able to stand and tell a story of the murder of her 4 children. But not only that obviously she'll never get over that, but how she's started a nonprofit to help other mothers and parents who have lost children. Yeah. And to avoid getting into relationships where red flags can be acknowledged, and you can do the work to handle not putting yourself in a position to be harmed.
I could be one of your storytellers on that.
Oh, okay.
I'm in a good one now, but the road I got, oh man, blew through a bunch of red flags time and time again.
Yeah. You know what? You just gave me something. I should do a thing called red flags.
Yeah, you should, because we ignore them. Now that I'm in a good place, I have single friends, I have new relationship friends, and I be telling them, yo, the red flags are there. You seem like you choose to ignore them. Because I always wonder, Satori, when you're in a bad relationship, since this is my example of the red flags, why don't your friends jump in and tell you, especially after the fact, when they always tell you, I knew he wasn't good for you. Wait, did you tell me? Could you have told me? Why were you afraid to tell me? Or in this point, Satori, sometimes they tell you and you don't even listen. You don't want it. So yeah, all that applied to me. Hey, you should do the red flags.
Okay, I'm going to do it. Thank you very much. That's going to be a theme.
You gave me some, I gave you some.
That's the way it works.
Yeah. So the reason I hesitated, I didn't want to go like far into it. I didn't want to be a storyteller. But when you said humble and humility, there was just a young man, Deion Sanders' son, if you're familiar, if you follow sports. And there are a lot of people say, oh, he needed to be humbled. And I allege that it was a conspiracy of the NFL to have that young man wait that long, and for the team that would have got him to eventually have gotten him, as in, hey, man, no one else is going to take him, gentleman's agreement, but we're going to let him sit and stew until the end, until we break him down, so that when he is drafted, we got a shell of that confidence that he's been waving around in our face. I think that. And so
and a small portion of the money.
Yes. Oh, he lost $40 million. Yes, he lost $40 million. And Satori, I believe that it comes down to I know a lot of people are afraid of confident, high self-esteem people. You're afraid of them, and that's why you don't like them, because they're exposing your weaknesses or how shallow you are. And I say afraid. Maybe we can name it something else, but what do you got against that person, especially if you've never met them and engaged with them? How do you hate that they're confident? I never understand that.
Well, my personal thinking on the matter is they wanted to reduce Deion Sanders.
That too. Yes.
And so they went through his son, but you forget that is his name son? What's his name? Shaquan? What is his name?
Saquon.
No, Deion Sanders' son that we're talking about.
Oh, Shakoor.
Yeah,
yes.
They forget that Shakoor comes from Deion, and that he's been breastfed or father fed on what it is to stand for yourself, to know that whatever you've achieved, you earned it. That you're not bragging, you're not confident. There's not a false confidence. You remember every ache, every pain, every hit, every morning you got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to run track before you went to school. So, I mean, and if you present it in a bragging kind of way, that's just you, that's your personality. And people are sometimes turned off from that, depending on who it is and depending on who they think deserves to be braggart. But then when you think about, what is the gentleman's name? He's now a sportscaster, but they chose him late as a draft, and he went on to become the greatest. Tom
Brady.
Tom Brady. Okay, so that's possible too. You may be able to pick me in the 5th round, but I'm still that man.
Yes.
I mean, put me in the 5th, 1st, the 10th. I'm still gonna show up with all my skills. I'm gonna carry that baby down and go do my thing and get my touchdown, sir. And the 40 million will be added unto me.
You're getting it. You'll get that. He's gonna get that money the moment we get the opportunity to see them skills, because he is dynamic in sales, like his dad, salesmanship. I mean, Coach Prime, he's doing Aflac right now. with Nick Saban. And if you notice, Nick Saban is a strict, kind of close to the vest, kind of low energy kind of guy. But in that commercial, they got Coach Prime. And when you put that together, you got this happy medium, and it's successful. If it wasn't successful, Aflac would not have the 30 commercials they got of those two together. And now KFC has Deion Sanders and his family, because the last name is Sanders, Colonel Sanders. So the young man gonna get his money, because to your point, you said it yourself, he's breastfed by Coach Prime. That's all there. Satori, you better stop. We're gonna bring you back when I do a sports show. We're gonna bring you back on some sports segments. But Satori, I want to go off to a side part of that. I heard it ain't tricking if you got it. It ain't bragging if you could do it. And how about it ain't cocky, it's storytelling. Case in point, I did something recently, and I want to make a big deal about it. And the part of that is because I'm mad that it took me this long in my life to do it. I wish I would have done it earlier, but I was in all them bad relationships. I was distracted, but I finally did it. And what I thought was, no, I'm gonna share this with at least my circle. I think my circle needs to hear and see this. And the more I told people, the bigger responses I kept getting. You know what they kept telling me, Satori?
What's that?
How did you pull that off? I got 3 kids, Satori. I coach sports. I told you I'm happily married. I got the bomb chick right now. I'm happily married. Can't spend enough time with this girl. She says I'm her stalker, but that's her fault, Satori. Satori, you don't marry your stalker. That's her fault. But
talking around the house, huh?
But with all the stuff I got a full-time job. I do this. I do 2 radio shows, a sports one and a regular talk show. So all my friends are like, wait, so how did you do this big accomplishment I just did? And Satori, I remember a lot of people have been saying to me, man, I've been wanting to do that for years. And now I see that I could do it because look, you just did it. You got 3 kids. I only got 1. I don't coach like you coach. I don't do I'm not on a radio show and doing the podcast. I go home, I play a little video game, I'm around my wife, and that's about it. And what I have done now is I've empowered people. But what I thought I could have thought is, nah, man, it's just bragging, because only 7% of African Americans in this country have done what I just done. Only 13% of white Americans in this country have done what I've done. Notice how it's double though, but that's a whole nother, hold on. Let me write that one down too. 7%, I'm just right. 7%, 13%. We're going to come back to that one on another episode. But now I'm empowering because I shared my story. If I would have held it close to the vest, if I would have stoked my true nature, I don't think I would have motivated at least 3 or 4 people that it seems like I've motivated. So what's the difference, Satori?
Exactly what I said earlier. Until you tell your story, you're someone who looks good and smells good. But when you tell your story, then you open the possibility of inspiring, motivating, leading by example, giving support and validation to somebody else's life. And when they look at you, they said, if you can do it, I can do it. I didn't know you did that. How did you do that? Then you get enough people asking you, how did you do that? Then of course that becomes a possibility of a seminar.
Yes.
Of a speaker, of you joining a speakers bureau, touring the country, having bigger platform to inspire. So the more you share, it's not bragging. It's what you did that other people are hungry for to learn. Like the person who said, I come home, I play video games, and I hang out with my girl. They obviously want to do more than play video games and hang out with their girl.
Yes.
If they're hungry to do it, they have the dream, but they're not confident enough. They haven't seen enough examples of the dream being realized, and you become that possibility for them. So that's why I say, even though you're scared, your knees are wobbly, tell your story. Just tell your story and watch people open up. And the more vulnerable you are, the more honest you are. And because people are afraid. All human beings get stopped in life. They tell themselves stories about how I can't do it. I'm not good enough. He's better than me. She more beautiful. That, I don't have the money. That they give themselves stories to support them not going forward. So I was in a seminar, and the homework was push past where you ordinarily stop, and I was stopped. So that's what I noticed. I'm gonna do my homework now. Stand in front of a pita place in Midtown Detroit.
Yeah.
Call Dick Gregory's agent's number. And she said, "Oh, Dick would love to do." Now I'd sat on that number for 3 weeks going, "Oh, he don't want to do this little show. He's too big." So sometimes you have to test reality, or you have to test your doubts and fears.
Yes.
You have to go out there and try it. If you want to quit your job, you do what you need to do to make sure that things are in place, and then you quit whatever it is you're afraid to do. Test it in reality.
Yeah.
So I applaud you. I thank you for having the courage to go out there and share your story. Now, the video game guy, every time he plays video games, he's going to be thinking about Donato.
Yep.
And his dream.
Yeah.
Let me call somebody I was afraid to call. Let me write a proposal. Let me try.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And let me get my wife and my girl to support me in it, because she's probably sitting there going, "I know he has a dream. I know he wants to do more than this, and I want to support him. Let him step out, and then I'll be right behind him."
No, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of times we say, "I can't do it for him," or "I don't want to push him if he doesn't want to do it," and so they are waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting to add the flame to that rocket, but you got to stick that wick out there first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You get like that so they can light it, and then you could take off. I just made that up on the spot, but
yes, I like the wick. I like the wick, like John Wick.
Yes, exactly.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
And by telling that story, now they're about to branch off with this new lady action. She's the an off branch of John Wick, and I believe that might be Keanu Reeves saying, "I don't know. I think I'm kind of at the end of this." And so they're like, "Okay, we have another character we can come off. You'll do a cameo, and we'll get it started." So I'm excited for that too. For all you John Wick fans out there, they know what I'm talking about.
And Ryan Coogler, yay!
Oh, Ryan is doing his thing. I haven't gone to see Sinners yet.
Oh my goodness!
I know. Well, it's Mother's Day. Maybe I can go take my wife today.
Yes.
Look at Satori. I've been talking to you and your people. You and me just might have to do this more often. You inspiring me to. I'm gonna write this one down too.
No problem.
All right. And you know what? I was just in Detroit a couple weeks ago. I went to a baby shower in Ann Arbor, and my wife is a big Eminem fan, so we took her to Mom's Spaghetti. You gotta do that. That stadium. Oh, it was good. It was good. It was a great experience.
Okay.
And then to be able to sit there and look across at y'all's baseball stadium, that's a beautiful stadium. I don't think people know how beautiful that. No, spoiler alert, people, they got live tigers that are carved out of stone that look like they looked at Medusa and got turned to stone, because them things look like they about to pounce on you. Yeah. And that's great artwork. And it's a beautiful park. And then the whole time, I like to dress a little bit, right? And my wife, I was like, "Hey, I need to make sure I'm on my A game when I get to Detroit. Them Detroit players, I heard they don't mess around. And she said, whatever. So we're sitting there in Mom's Spaghetti and we're looking at the stadium. And then all of a sudden, oh, cool daddy in this nice fedora, some matches. There was a red fedora, some matching red gaiters. He goes past. And I was like, okay. Then another one comes by. His lady's in a fur coat. It was a little rainy day. So she just wanted a reason to bring out the fur. But, you know, it's Michigan. So what was that? That was like early April in Michigan. It could be cold.
Yeah.
They go past. And then all I did is she saw him too. I saw her looking down because Mom's Spaghetti's got 2 floors of looking down. And I could see Satori, her look at me. And I was like, yeah, it proved my point. You see what I'm talking about? So what saved me was there was a soul music festival going on. And there's a concert hall like right next to that stadium across the street. And they were all walking that way. So that's what saved me. And she got to see them Detroit players. And I don't know if y'all are in the Starburst or Skittles, but them Detroit players got every color of the Starburst. They taste the rainbow with them Gators. I saw them all.
That's right.
I saw blue, yellow, red. Roy G. Biv. I saw.
Yep.
So I love Detroit. I had a lot of fun up there. I had a lot of fun.
I'm going to go to Mom's Spaghetti.
Oh, yeah, I think you should. And it, especially for those listeners who are fans of him, y'all owe it to your boy, to him, to go to his restaurant.
I'm a big fan.
That gives me a little bit of a segue to where I want to go: social impact and leadership next. You've worked with institutions from the UN to Detroit PBS. Since we're talking Detroit, how do you balance artistic integrity with the social missions you're advancing through storytelling?
Well, it's a marriage. Integrity is not a moral. For me, it doesn't have to live under a moral umbrella. It lives under what's workable and effective umbrella. So a 3-legged chair is out of integrity with its design. A chair is designed to have 4 legs, a stool, 3 legs. So if you want something to work and have workability, then you have to be committed to its design. So my commitment is to connect humanity to the mission, to connect humanity, heal and transform community, and to provide an uplifting, thought-provoking, soul-cleansing experience through the art and craft of storytelling. So that's where I walk into rooms like that. I come on to your show and be in your presence like that. So if I'm hosting a show on PBS, if I'm going to the Netherlands, if I'm walking into a workshop to facilitate storytelling, there is no difference. Now, talking about social impact, I'm a leader. I'm a leader as my natural self-expression. I'm trained as a leader. And so that's how I constitute myself. That's how I put myself. And being a leader doesn't mean I'm in front of the room or I'm leading the charge. It means, like when I came on the podcast initially, a leader allows another leader to lead if they're not good at it or they're not positioned to do it. So you're leading this and I'm following. Okay. And I still can be a leader in my following because you're, as a leader, you're whatever you need to be. If I'm the one that's got to roll up my sleeves and plug up that drain, then I'm leading. Or if I have to lead my team, I can do that. So in terms of social impact, I have a film that's coming out June 12th. It's called Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale. And it's my story, my 12-year journey through menopause. Because when I first entered menopause, I would ask around, what's happening to me? Who am I? I don't recognize myself. I'm having hot flashes, mood swings, night sweats. My heart is beating fast. I'm having brain fog. I don't recognize myself. I asked my mother, I don't remember. I asked older women, I'm too young. I asked some women, I refuse to go through menopause. You refuse to go through what should be a beautiful rite of passage and a beautiful, empowering stage of life. So I promised that when I got on the other side, I would write about it. That writing turned into a story. That story turned into a performance. That performance was filmed over 3 days. And now 2 years later, after the performance, it's coming out on Apple TV Plus, Amazon, and Google Play. It's called Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale. And the purpose of the story was to get women talking about this powerful stage of life. And now, 2 years after that intended purpose, we've got Halle Berry, who's become the face of menopause. I'm part of the Michigan Women's Commission, which I met with Halle Berry and the governor and other women up in Lansing.
Wait, Satori, is she from Ohio?
Who?
Halle Berry.
I'm not sure where Halle Berry is from.
Okay, so she didn't tell you, because I thought y'all Michigan, Ohio. I'm like,
we're very close. Yeah, we're very close. But
okay, I thought
maybe she lives in LA now, but she can live wherever she wants to. But she told her story of being misdiagnosed. Now, the thing is, not many doctors they get 1 hour training in menopause. It's something that impacts women medically. It really takes a toll on the quality of our lives. And if we don't know what's happening to us, we can't be responsible for it. And then therefore we can't reach out to our partners, our children, to get support during this time of life. A lot of divorces happen, a lot of misdiagnosis by doctors, a lot of pharmaceuticals, because they don't know. And it's going to take a little bit of time to train doctors in this. So there's going to be we're just starting to talk about it, because the largest demographic of women in some stage of menopause are women in some stage of menopause. And the most powerful, wealthiest demographic are women in this stage. We have women running for president, who are governors, who are CEOs, who are grandmothers, who run their own businesses and companies, and they're demanding, I want to know what this is so that I can address it, so I can have a quality of life. Once you deal with the symptoms, then there's this parting of the clouds. And what's available to you is the opportunity to be free, to be empowered, to free yourself from performing for the male lens, the patriarchal lens, which tells you that once you reach a certain age, stage in life, and you're not perky, you're not juicy, you can't pump out babies, you're not relevant. Go sit in the corner in a rocking chair with your glasses on your nose and take care of your grandkids. But for me, I'm like, I lived this much life. I gained this much experience, this much wisdom, to go sit in the corner because I'm not juicy and perky. You know what I mean? Who's to define my relevancy besides myself?
Yes.
So that's why I made the film, which hopefully is a social impact film.
Yeah.
And supports what's happening now, that women are beginning to talk and answer. And so I went to a town hall this last Monday, and you'd be surprised at the number of, and they had doctors on the panel. You'd be shocked at how many women, and it was over, and women still wanted to ask questions. Well, this is happening to me, and I was wondering, would this be good for me to take? Or it's so much mystery around that. But then men get to have the little blue pill. They know when it's time to get a colonoscopy. They know when it's time to get a prostate exam. You know, everything, but no research, little research done about women, because there's been no demand. Yeah. Now we're demanding it. And so my film is, it's a stand-up storytelling concert film. So I tell my story in narrative form, in comedy form, and through song.
That's so cool. You've got the distributors. I was gonna say some good ones. Oh, Apple TV. Oh wow, that's exciting. I alluded to the when it comes to college football, you always see that Michigan, when they're gonna play their rival Ohio State, what they call them, them up north. You're not even allowed to say the word Michigan. So that's what I was alluding to. I don't want to cause drama between you and Halle Berry, but maybe during the football season, she might remember. Wait a minute, Satori's Michigan. I can't call her this week.
No, I'm not that deep into football. Matter of fact, it's only been 2 years that I've been really into football. And it's because before football was boring. I only understood the touchdown. Woo!
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the one.
But my husband, now we watch football together because he teaches me, okay, this is a down. So now it's kind of like going to the casino, to the craps table. I used to only play one game on the craps table, and the other games I had no knowledge of. So now I can go, did he get it down? Oh my God, I can get mad. Because I'm video games, or auctions, I get out of control. So that's how I am with games. I grab his leg, I squeeze him, I cause bodily harm to my husband. He said, "That's okay, baby. You just entered the game." But he's teaching me about the different plays, about the different players. So now I like football more than basketball now.
Ooh.
Certainly better than baseball.
Well, I think that is the consensus here in America. Football is king, and then the NBA comes in. So you don't have to feel bad about that, because it's about like that for the rest of us. The rest of us who are not officially like an NBA fan stint. If you know that you're addicted to the NBA, then of course you're going to pick the NBA first. But for the rest of us, by natural selection, we kind of go NFL, then NBA. Maybe it's because there's just not as many games, and every game means so much in the NFL season. Yeah, there's 82 regular season games in the NBA and only 17. So it's not equals. That one game matters. Every game matters. I think that's what gets us. Yeah. Legacy and reflection, as we kind of get to the end here, and I that time flew. This is great. I got more questions I didn't even get to, but when we talk legacy and reflection, with all the stages you've performed on and lives you've touched, what do you hope your legacy will be as a storyteller and change maker?
I hope that my legacy will be the over 600, 700 storytellers that I have coached, and even more as I facilitate workshops at Duke University, University of Michigan, faith-based organization, that my legacy will continue through the stories I help them craft. Because even now, as I go to different events, I hear the storytellers I coach tell the stories as I coach them to tell them. So the stories, they become more confident in the stories that they're telling that I help to coach. So I can see my babies. I can see my babies carrying forth these stories that are lifetime. So I want to be remembered through the stories that other people tell. Matter of fact, my business is built totally on referrals. Mm-hmm. In terms of the facilitating workshops. I've never called anybody up and tried to drum up business. I get emails, "You've helped so-and-so. I love the work you did with this. I have another organization. Can you talk to?" So I'm always engaged in this work.
That sounds like it.
That's my legacy would be that I brought storytelling in this and the art form in this way to Detroit, to the world.
What advice would you give to young artists, especially Black women, who are trying to find their voice in today's creative landscape?
What kind of advice would I give to young women who are trying to find their voice in this creative landscape? It depends on what if you're looking for the monetary outcome, which I don't disparage at all, that we do live in a capitalist society and we do have to pay our rent and our bills. I say, do what you love to do for the rest of your life. Commit to that.
Yeah.
I committed to that when Wall Street crashed. I had no money. I had been supporting myself as an artist for 12 years. And now I had to go back to the idea of a job.
Yeah.
Job that I hated so much that I took the risk and all the risk to quit and build this. Now I also say, whatever you do that you love to do, own it.
Yeah.
Own it full, 100%, so that you don't have to be creatively obligated to some outside source telling you how to do your thing.
Yeah.
That, like a Ryan Coogler,
Yeah. Yeah.
To persist, to have resilience. If you believe in yourself, to believe in yourself enough to be able to take critique and criticism from others. Use the critique and the criticism, test it out on whatever it is that you're doing, because to test it out, and rather than back off from it or be afraid of it, to test it out will either show you, because when I would go to critique sessions for things that I had written and I was given a critique, I didn't push back, I used it. I would go, they're thinking over here. Let me pursue how they're thinking over here to see does it have any value for what I'm doing. Sometimes that would open up a whole vein of creativity. Yeah. Other times it would just validate I'm on the right track as I am.
Yeah.
So you have to open yourself up to know that whatever it is I'm doing, I could do it better. So let me stand where I'm standing with what I love to do and my vision, and use what I'm being given to support that vision and to bring it into manifestation. Do what you love to do for the rest of your life. No matter what.
I like that. Looking back at your time with Parliament Funkadelic, what's a wild or hilarious memory that still makes you laugh?
Oh my God. George Clinton. Well, first of all, Sly Stone is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life.
Really?
Yes. He was hilarious. Wow. And a lot of the P-Funk, they're just funny. George is the most cryptic, profound philosopher I've ever met. George would say things like, there was a time when we were at Super Disc recording studios. We're on a break in the green room, and this song from Europe comes on. It's very mechanical sounding. Dang, dang, dang. I hated the song. There was no melody. There was nothing. And so I think George was walking through the room while the song was playing. I'm like, I hate that song. And George says, you hate that song? If you hate it that much, you might as well love it. And kept walking. But it took me a long time to figure out what he's saying. If you hate it that much, you might as well love it. How do you love something you hate? And then I got it some years later, that if you're the same energy you're using to hate something, you might as well make a choice to love it. Now, I never did love that song, but it never gave me that visceral, I hate that song. It never took me out of living my life to comment on how much. And George would just say things like, we were in Atlanta at the Fox Theater, 5,000 seats. At that time, some people didn't believe the biggest black rock band in the world was coming to their town. So we would head from the bus straight to the radio station to say, we're here, we'll be at the Fox, come get your tickets. Well, 500 people showed up in a 5,000 seat venue. So, it looked sparse. The band, we all were like, it's only 500 people here. And George said, yeah. So that means we got to play harder because they showed up. So I learned that no matter who shows up, you give them 100%. You give them 150. And that translated to comedy when sometimes there only be 5 people in the audience. That translated to theater when some of the actors would come off stage and go, oh, that's a terrible audience. And I would be grateful. Did you see the guy? He fell asleep in the front row. I never saw the sleep person. I never saw any of the people that they saw. Yeah. I knew this. They were there. And if they didn't laugh, if they weren't, the audience can never be terrible. You just didn't deliver you didn't deliver the desired result. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. The audience is who comes to tell you whether or not they got what you're giving. So don't blame them because they didn't laugh or because they were tired. Maybe this guy needed to nap. Maybe he didn't sleep that night. Maybe he's an insomniac and he got what he needed.
To your point, yeah. First time he had a chance to sit down in one spot because he was just running the whole time.
Right.
No, you're right. Okay, if your life were, this will be my last question here.
Okay.
If your life were a story on stage, what would the title be and who would narrate it?
It would be Confessions of a Menopausal Femme Fatale.
Oh.
And Maya Angelou would narrate it.
Yeah. Perfect. I like that. I mean, there could have been no wrong answer, but that one delivered. And it's so funny though, because that is actually going to be possible for us to go to Apple TV Plus. Yes. And Amazon, you said we could also get it?
Amazon Prime Video and Google Play.
And Google Play. Oh, that covers it all.
Yeah.
whatever medium they like. Those are the big ones.
Yes.
For us to be able to get it. So, Satori, if people would like to stay in contact, I believe it's SatoriShakoor.com is your website.
Yes, it is.
And your link tree is there. I just want to say, Satori, thank you for sharing your powerful energy, wisdom, and truth with us today. It was an honor to have you on the show. Your journey and storytelling, which we just saw, continue to inspire and uplift in ways that resonate far beyond the stage. I got notes here, so I'm not saying it something that isn't true, because I wrote down 3 things here that you're going to help me with going forward. But I'm wishing you nothing but love, light, and good vibrations as you keep transforming the world one story at a time.
Yes. And thank you, Donato, for having me on your show. It was completely enjoyable to me. I learned so much from you. Red flags. See, watch for it, people. It's coming up as a show theme pretty soon. And I appreciate speaking with your audience. And I look forward to meeting with you again.
Oh, you haven't heard the last of me. That's a threat. Thanks,
Happy
Satori.
Mother's Day to your wife, and happy Father's Day to you next month.
Yeah. Thank you. And to you and yours, everyone in your circle as well.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye-bye.